Hello everyone, welcome to our Saturday webinar. Today we're going to be talking all about Assignment A on the Level 5 course. We will be having future webinars on other assignments, but today we are just going to focus on Assignment A for Level 5. So just in case I haven't met you all before, my name is Mairead. I am from Galway in Ireland, and I've been in the world of TEFL for 20 years now. I've worked with the TEFL Academy for 8 of those years, so hopefully I'll be in a good position to give you lots of helpful advice for Assignment A. As always, I will give my presentation, and afterwards there will be time for you to ask as many questions as you have about Assignment A. As usual, we will only be answering questions on Assignment A. If you have questions about any other aspect of the course or any other assignments, please send a ticket to tutor support. All right, let's go. We have lots to get through today. So in this webinar, we are going to look at what the assignment assesses, the structures of a skills lesson, the structure of the assignment, and what each text entails. If you haven't got to Assignment A yet, this may all be a bit of information overload, but as always, the webinar will be posted online. So when you do get to Assignment A, you'll be able to go back and watch, and it will make far more sense. Okay, let's start then by looking at what your marker is assessing in this assignment. Your ability to select and teach level appropriate vocabulary. All right, we need to know that you can select good vocabulary to pre-teach your students. We're also assessing the ability to create reading tasks for stages 3 and 4 of the reading lesson. And we are also assessing your ability to create speaking tasks. As always, before you start the assignment, it's really important that you read the instructions and the case study. Okay, the case study will give you information on who you are planning this lesson for. Okay, who are the students that you will be dealing with? Well, the hypothetical students, of course. And you've also got to make sure that you can access and download all of the templates provided. Okay, you must submit your work on the templates provided. Okay, that's really important. You don't have to make your own templates. Use the ones we give you. So, as mentioned before, we are going to assess your ability to plan a skills lesson. And in this case, it's going to be a reading lesson. Okay, so Level 5 Assignment A is based entirely on planning reading lessons. So the structure of a reading lesson is as follows. As always, we start with a lead-in and a warmer to establish the topic. Then we have a vocabulary pre-teach stage where we select vocabulary that will be important for students to know in order to understand the text. We normally teach vocabulary that is above the student's level, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Then we have the first reading stage, we have a second reading stage, and we finish up with a follow-on speaking task. Okay, so while we are planning a reading lesson, the final stage would be a speaking stage that is somehow tied into the topic that students have read about. So they are the stages of a reading lesson. In Level 5 Assignment A, these stages are divided into 3 texts, okay? Texts 1, 2, and 3. You will be provided with templates, for text 1, 2, and 3. The idea is that you will plan different stages of a reading lesson, okay? Each stage is based on a different text, and each text is designed for a different group of students. So, for example, in text 1, you will just be dealing with selecting vocabulary to pre-teach and analysing that vocabulary, okay? And you will have a specific text on the template for you to base your choices on. All right, so every text is dealing with a different stage of the reading lesson. It's really important, again, that you read the templates for each text, because it will give you information on who that lesson is planned for. For example, text 1 is aimed at teenagers, teaching teenagers, text 2 at adults, and text 3 also at adults. All of that information is on the template, so do read them carefully. So let's take a closer look then at each text. Text 1 focuses on stage 2, the vocabulary pre-teach stage. Okay, so this is where we test your ability to select pre-teach vocabulary. You must select 10 items for the vocabulary table. Okay, again, all of this will be on the template, the text you have to use, and the table, the vocabulary analysis table that you need to fill in. There's another element to text 1. You are also asked to provide some teacher language for 2 of the items from your table. This is an important element because it tests your ability to grade your language. It also tests your ability to elicit words, teach pronunciation, and concept check. The really important thing, everyone, is that the teacher language element must be in direct speech. Okay, so we need to see the exact words that you would say to your students. Yeah, so imagine you are actually teaching them this word. What are the words coming out of your mouth? Okay, that's what we need to see written in your teacher language. Here are some tips for text 1. When you see the vocabulary table in the template, you will see that it's divided into columns and rows. Okay, it's really important that you fill in all categories on the table. Okay, so you can't have random squares blank on the template. Okay, you've got to put something everywhere, and that will allow you to give enough detail on the word. It's also important that you adhere to word limits. So for example, for the vocabulary table, you have a 1,000 word limit for the entire table. Okay. And for the teacher language section, you have 200 words per item. Now, as always, with the word counts across all of the TEFL Academy assignments, you have a 10% plus or minus. Okay, so if you're a little bit under or a little bit over, that's still okay. All right, you have a 10% margin on the word counts, both under and over. But yeah, try to keep to them as best you can. If you find that your word limit is if you find that you are way under the word limit, chances are you haven't written enough for your work to be assessed properly. Okay. Also, as we said in the previous slide, your teacher language dialogues and your concept checking questions in the table must be in direct speech. Okay, so the actual words that would come out of your mouth. All right. So that is it for text 1. Okay, it is all about selecting vocabulary to pre-teach and giving us your teacher language in direct speech. One final tip for text 1. When you are selecting vocabulary to pre-teach, okay, remember, we want to pre-teach words that students will not already know. So if, for example, your students are B1 level, you will want to select words above B1 level. All right. Also bear in mind that phrases are incredibly useful. Okay, so if you can find a phrase, a set of words that always go together, they are incredibly useful for students too. Okay, so let's move on then to text 2. Now, text 2, we're moving along the stages of our reading lesson. It focuses on stages 3 and 4, the first and second reading tasks. So in this text 2 template, we are looking for questions to test understanding of a piece of text. And it tests knowledge of various reading skills. So it will be a different text to text 1, okay, just to give you even more practice. When you look at text 2, you will see, again, a case study outlining the students that you are teaching. You will see the new text that text 2 is based on. And you will just see the following: a heading with task and a second heading with how the task will be set. Okay, so there's not a whole lot there in terms of the task template. So when you see task, this means that we want you to write the questions that you would use for that stage. Okay, only the questions, nothing more. Okay, then under that, how the task will be set, we would like you to give a brief description of how the stage would go. For example, I would give and check instructions. I would give students a handout with the text. I would, I would also have the questions on a handout. Yeah. I would ask students to read individually. Okay. So basically you're just giving a short description of how the stage would run. Okay. This does not need to be long at all. Okay. You can keep it pretty brief, but just try to give your marker an idea, like help them visualize how the stage would transpire. Okay, so for the first reading stage, okay, you are required to provide us with 2 or 3 questions. Okay, nothing more, 2 or 3 questions. And these should preferably be skimming and or scanning questions. Okay, if you have reached Unit 5 of the online course, you will know that skimming just means reading a text very, very quickly to get the general gist. And scanning means reading for specific numbers, names, information, etc. So for the first reading stage, you just need to give 2 or 3 questions. You could do, for example, 1 skimming, 1 scanning, or you could do 2 skimming, 1 scanning, or you could do 1 skimming, 2 scanning. Yeah, it's up to you, but only 2 to 3 questions, focusing on skimming and scanning. Okay, so in the template, it's going to look really short because you will just literally have written 3 questions. Okay, but that's okay. Don't feel like you need to do anything else, because you don't. And underneath that, you will, give a rundown of the stage in how the task will be set. Then for the second reading stage, again, this will be based on the same reading, okay? But this time we're testing something different. We're testing a deeper understanding here through intensive reading. All right, so this is where students have to read carefully and find the answer to different comprehension questions. This stage is a little longer. We want to see 7 to 10 intensive reading questions. Okay, so the whys, the hows, the whats. Okay, you want to set questions that will challenge students, that will require them to read the text in detail to answer those questions. Just a word of advice, please avoid simple scanning questions for the second reading. Remember, scanning belongs in the first reading. Okay, the second reading is only detailed comprehension questions. When you get to Unit 5 of the online course, it will explain in detail what the differences are between skimming, scanning, and detailed. Okay, so if you haven't got there now, this may seem a bit confusing, but don't worry, when you do get there, it will make more sense. And as I said before, you can go back to YouTube, watch the webinar, and it will make a lot more sense to you. So tips for text 2. Well, adhere to the number of questions required. So as we said, for the first reading stage, it's 2 to 3 questions. And for the second reading stage, it's 7 to 10. Okay, don't do any less, don't do any more. Okay, stick to the limit. Also, make sure your questions test the various skills so that stage 1 reading is genuinely skimming and scanning, and stage 2 reading is genuinely detailed reading based. Okay, moving on. Text 3. Now, text 3 focuses on stage 5, which is the follow-on speaking stage. And in this text 3 template, you have got to design 2 tasks to fit a 15-minute stage. Okay, that means that you will have 2 tasks of approximately 7.5 minutes each. The aim here of the follow-on speaking stage is to develop students' oral fluency. Okay, we want them to speak. We want to provide them with the opportunity to have some natural conversation with their classmates. Again, there will be a new text for you to base the theme of your activities on. Okay. So when you get to text 3 template, then you will have another little case study detailing the students that you are teaching, the level, etc. You will have a text to read, just so you can get an idea of the topic and the theme that your speaking tasks need to be based on. And you will get some other information on what those speaking tasks need to achieve. You will then see a template. It's like the 5th stage of a lesson plan, follow-on speaking. And it will just be a short template with different columns in it. Okay. It's really important that you fill in your tasks in this lesson plan template. Okay. Take a really close look at all of the headings on the columns and note the information required. So you will have to put in the timing, like how long each task would take. As we said, about 7.5, 8 minutes would be sufficient. You will have to put in an interaction pattern. Perhaps you remember this from the first unit. This is when you do like teacher class, TC, or student to student, SS. You will find a ton of information on interactive patterns in the online course. So again, if you haven't found that yet, don't worry. You will deal with interaction patterns before the assignment crops up. You will need to write in teacher activity. So this means what the teacher does during the stage. So you'll be providing loads of information like teacher gives instructions, teacher checks instructions, teacher puts students in pairs. Teacher writes the question on the board. Or whatever your task entails. So everything that the teacher does goes in teacher activity. Okay. And then the student's corresponding activity will go in the student activity column. So for example, if in teacher activity, it says teacher will pair up the students, in the student activity column, it might say students stand up and arrange themselves into pairs. Okay, or students turn to the person to their left or to their right. Okay, so, think of teacher activity and student activity as going hand in hand. Okay, you say what the teacher does, and then you say what the student does, as a response to that. There is a lot of information that you need to put in that template. Try to make it as detailed as you can, because ideally you want your assessor to be able to visualize the stage, and you want them to know exactly, to see exactly how the stage would go from beginning to end, according to your instructions as laid out in the template. Please do make sure you design 2 different tasks. Okay, we do not want one task of 15 minutes, remember. We want 2 tasks. okay, of approximately 7.5 minutes each. So it's always good to get some variety in task type. So for example, the first task could be a nice discussion with conversation questions between students. And the second one could be a role play. Yeah. Or, you could do a whole variety of different speaking tasks just based on conversation questions, but in different formats. So, try to make the two tasks different so that the students don't get bored doing two tasks on the same thing. It's also so important to remember that this is a speaking task. Okay, so you will take the theme of the text, yeah, and then you will develop that theme into two related speaking tasks. It's so important that you do not give them any more comprehension questions. Okay, remember, they'll already have done that, yeah, in the reading stages. So they should not be going back to the text, finding information in the text, answering questions. Okay, that is not what is required here. We just want them to speak. Okay, it's also important that you don't put in vocabulary tasks. All right, because students will already have studied the vocabulary in the pre-teaching stage, right? So, we don't want them doing things like match words and definitions. Okay, that is not a speaking task. Okay, that is not fluency based. All we need here are speaking fluency tasks based on the topic of the text. Okay. At the beginning of the template of text 3, you are given some aims. Okay, you are given some information on what these tasks need to achieve, what these speaking tasks need to achieve. And you are told that you want students to use the present simple tense. So I go out, I go out with my friends, I eat dinner at 8 o'clock every evening, etc. You are also told that you need students to practice frequency adverbs. So frequency adverbs are words like always, sometimes, never, yeah, often, rarely, occasionally, yeah, all of those adverbs that describe how often you do something. So your tasks ought to include giving students the opportunity to talk about their everyday life, okay, but also to use adverbs of frequency, okay. In text 3, the imaginary students you're teaching are only elementary level. Okay, they're adults, but they're elementary level. So you will need to keep your tasks really pretty basic. Okay, elementary students can't say a lot. Okay, they also need a ton of support. So you may have to use a lot of images. You may need to give them a lot of keywords. You may provide them with sentence stems. Sentence stems are basically sentence beginnings. For example, in the morning, I always, da, da, da. Okay, or for lunch, I usually, da, da, da. Okay, so sentence stems, just the beginnings of sentences, just to give students an idea of what they need to say. It's also a really good idea to provide a lot of very basic discussion questions. So if one of your tasks or both of your tasks involve students talking to each other and asking questions, give them the questions, okay? Because if you rely on them to generate their own conversation, you can find that there will be a lot of silence and students won't be able to think of anything to ask. So whatever tasks you set, whatever speaking tasks you set in text 3, give them additional support. They really need it. Then the final part of the assignment, then text 3, is a short paragraph. I believe it's 100 words. So you need to write a 100-word paragraph explaining your choice of texts. Okay, you will see the space for this on the template below the lesson plan template. So this is just basically your chance to tell us why you decided to plan the tasks you did, yeah, and why you think they are good and helpful. Okay. So that is an individual look at texts 1, 2, and 3. Now, let's just look at some general tips that will apply across all 3 texts. As I've said a couple of times already, please make sure to note the level of each text and the students. Okay, so there will be like an individual case study on each text. It's really important that you know that, so that you know what level to pitch your work. Note the age of the students in each text. Okay, are you teaching teenagers? Yeah, and if so, what implications might that have? Are you teaching adults? Yeah. All of this is important background information when it comes to task selection. As we said before, note the word limits on each one. Again, you have a plus or minus 10% on all stated word limits. I'm not sure text 2 has a word limit. Okay, so you can use your best judgment on that. Also, all of the reading texts are provided on each template, on each different template. So you do not need to source your own texts. You do not need to attach any new texts. Yeah, everything is there on the template already for you to use. Some more general advice. Be sure to note the stage of the reading lesson each text focuses on. Yeah. So as we said, text 1 focuses on pre-teaching vocabulary. Yeah. Text 2 focuses on stages 3 and 4, which is the first and second reading. And text 3 focuses on stage 5, which is the follow-on speaking. In text 1, when you have to give your example of teacher language, remember, direct speech, okay? The exact words you would use. If you have any questions about any of the different templates or any of the different texts, please send a ticket to tutor support. Okay, you will see when you log on, you will see the send ticket or open ticket badge. Okay, click on that and you can ask us any question that you have regarding course content or assignments. Just a word of warning though, we cannot preview files in tutor support. So we often get students sending us their work and asking us, can you check that it's okay before I submit it? We cannot do that, okay? We do not do that. But what we can do is answer questions. So any questions you have, open a ticket and we will do our best to help. Some more general tips. When it comes to all of the parts of the assignment, when it comes to the teacher language parts of the assignments, we give you an example dialogue. Okay. We give you an example of effective teacher language from beginning to end. Yeah. Do not use that teacher language example directly. Okay. It's there as an example. It's not there to copy. All right. So you can absolutely use it to get an idea of the structure of the teacher language and how each thing flows onto the next. But yeah, please do not copy it directly. If you have any images or any material in the for any of the different texts, please include it in the designated spaces on the templates. Or if you have a lot of maybe photos or worksheets or whatever you want to include, you can include them in a separate file, clearly labeled materials. Okay. In text 1, there is a designated place on the template that you can put any images that you need to use. Okay, but anything else, pop it in a separate document labeled materials. Some students like to include extra materials, some students don't. It's up to you, whatever you think. But if you do include it, please label it correctly. You also need to provide a bibliography. All right, there is a template for this with the assignment instructions. There is also a file called referencing. Yeah, you'll see it with all of the rest of the assignment instructions and templates. Read that document because it gives you all of the information that you need to know on how to reference your sources. Again, if you have any questions about bibliographies, please send a ticket to tutor support. But really, if you read that document entitled referencing, it will tell you everything you need to know on how to complete your bibliography. The bibliography is obligatory, okay? You do need to do it. We would also advise proofreading your work for mistakes before you submit it. I'm sure you are all aware from reading the terms and conditions that you have all agreed that you have a C1 or above level of English. If we find a mistake, or if we find an assignment that has a ton of spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, etc., chances are we will send it back to you and ask you to proofread it and resubmit. So yeah, please make sure that you do proofread your assignment thoroughly before submission. You've got to use the templates that we provide. Yeah, as I said before, we have provided you with all of the templates that you will need for this assignment. So just please use them. There is no reason for you to have to formulate your own templates. Okay. A little bit more on templates. I feel like I've said the word template 5 billion times in the last half hour. Do not alter the templates. So there's no need to go deleting things from the templates, okay? Leave the instructions, leave the examples, yeah, unless it's been indicated otherwise. You don't need to alter the templates, all right? Leave them as they are. And type in the blank areas provided, okay? As I said, there is no need to delete our examples or instructions or reading texts, okay? Leave the templates as they are. The only exception to this is in text 1 in the vocabulary table. You can delete our 2 examples in the vocabulary table if you wish. Okay, it can be easier then to keep track of the word count, but everything else, leave it be. The final tip then would be, before you submit your assignments, please convert them to PDF. Okay, our platform typically only accepts PDF. So if you do try to submit and upload in other formats, chances are it will not accept your files. So yeah, please convert everything to PDF before you submit. All right. Ooh, that was a lot of information. It is now over to you. All right. I would like you to think of any questions you have related to Level 5 Assignment A. Yeah, pop them in the chat box and we will work through them. Okay, we have plenty of time left to go through questions. While you are thinking of your questions, I'm going to take a look at comments and see if any questions have already come in. And I'm also going to see where you're all from, because frankly, that's the most exciting bit, I always find. Okay. So hello, Merwady 100. When will there be a webinar for assignment B? Next week. Yeah, this time next week, we will have everything you need to know about assignment B level 5. There will also be webinars on the level 3 assignments, but they won't come till later on in the year. Okay. So hello, Thierry from France. Good to see you. You have Andrew, Nori, Shalini, Donatella. Hello, Italy. And Teresa in Italy. Karen in Canada. Lovely. So hello, Danny. May I ask the purpose of these webinars? Will we be able to ask questions? Yes, absolutely, Danny. So every week we have a different webinar, like on a different topic. And yeah, just like this one, the presenter will talk for maybe 30 minutes, and then the final 30 minutes will always be devoted to questions. Okay, we have Rachel in Alabama. Hello, Rachel. Brigitte and Belinda in South Africa. Very good. Okay. Oh, excellent. We have a lot of South Africans in today, so good to see you all. I see some familiar names. Stuart in Scotland. Just across the water. Good to see you. Okay, we have Martha in Dublin. Hey, you're my closest one, Martha. Okay, you also have a question. Martha, what would be an example of skimming questions? So, Martha, when we want students to skim, okay, it means we want them to read the entire text really quickly. We don't want them to spend a lot of time going into detail. That will come later. So an example might be, if you have a reading text, you could remove the title of the text, give the text to your students and say, you have 2 minutes to read this text and think of a title. Okay, write your own title. Okay, that would be an example of a skimming question, because students will have to read everything really quickly in order to get a general overview of the text. Again, when you get to level 5, or when you get to unit 5, okay, you will read a lot about skimming questions and what they need to entail, and you will also see examples. Okay, so when you get there, it will explain in detail all about skimming and scanning and detailed questions. Okay, hello, Sasha Lee. Do we need to provide our own reading material? Nope, absolutely not. Okay, all of the texts you need to use are on the corresponding templates. All right, so you don't need to source anything yourself. Okay, it is all on the templates for you. Okay, so hello, Colour of Art. I noticed that Vocab Kitchen labels certain words at a different level to Oxford or Cambridge Dictionary. Which grading should we focus on in order to make sure we are teaching new words? So Vocab Kitchen, Colour of Art, is a really good vocab profiler. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it yet, in Vocab Kitchen, you can copy and paste a text into its text box, and then it will tell you what the levels are of all of the different words in the text. You can imagine that that's really useful for pre-teaching. So when you copy and paste your text into Vocab Kitchen, select CEFR. Okay, you'll see a row of buttons, but you need to select CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference. Okay, that will tell you if a word is, for example, A2, B1, B2, C1. Okay, so that's what you need to go for. Vocab Colour of Art, I would just go with the Vocab Kitchen designations. Okay, so if, for example, Vocab Kitchen says a word is B2, but Oxford says it's B1, go with Vocab Kitchen. Okay, that would be my advice. And remember to reference Vocab Kitchen in your bibliography. But yeah, thank you, Colour of Art. Good question. Yeah, everybody, vocabkitchen.com is a really, really great and useful website to use, especially for text 1. Okay, hello again, Martha. I have missed the first 9 minutes. Could you repeat again? No, unfortunately not, but all of these webinars are posted on YouTube. Okay, so if you wait a couple of minutes, if you wait a couple of days, you will see this webinar on the TEFL Academy YouTube page. They usually go up on Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. So yeah, keep an eye on the TEFL Academy YouTube channel and you will be able to watch this webinar again. Okay. So, hello Deepa, can you show the template to make it clear? I'm afraid I can't, Deepa, but when you get to that point of the assignment, yeah, you will have access to all of the templates. So then go back and watch this webinar and it will make a lot more sense. Okay, but thank you for your question. Okay, hello, Karen. I think when Thierry said the channel, they mean the YouTube channel. Yes, Karen, thank you. Absolutely. That is it. So all of you can go along to YouTube, search for the TEFL Academy, and yeah, all of our webinars will be there. Okay, so hello, Stuart. Is this a new version of Assignment A because it doesn't match the texts I have? Ah, interesting. So it depends, Stuart, on when you enrolled. Like if you have been enrolled for, since 2020, for example, it's possible that you might have different texts. There may be still students who are doing some of the older versions, depending on when they enrolled with us initially. But yeah, why don't you pop in the chat box what text you have, and then I'll be able to tell you for sure. All right. So hello, Gemma. Are we given the class format online or in a class, one-to-one or T group? Yes, Gemma, all of that will be in the case studies on each template. Okay. All of the texts involve teaching face-to-face. Okay, so there will be no online teaching. It will all be teacher and face-to-face with a group of students. But yeah, all of that information will be on each template for sure. Okay, so hello, Once Upon a Tale. What a lovely name. When we create our assignment file, should we copy and paste only the tables to be filled, or should we use the whole template, including texts? The whole template, just as it is. Okay, you don't need to change anything. Okay, just the entire template, including everything. There will be spaces on all of the templates for you to write in your answers. All right, thank you. Okay, so hello, Nasi Said. Is it only through the vocab profiler that we can distinguish the level of students' knowledge of vocabulary? It is certainly the easiest way. Absolutely the easiest way. Could also please explain about uncategorized words and how to decide to pre-teach. So as we said, Nasi, the idea of pre-teaching, hang on, I'm going to change my view. The idea of pre-teaching is that we want to teach words that are above the level of the student. Okay, there's no point pre-teaching them words that are easier than their level because they already know them, right? So it's true that in the vocab profiler, there are some uncategorized words. So it won't tell you what level they are. Maybe just the machine does not have that information. In that case, you can use your best judgment. Okay, you can judge yourself whether you think this word is important enough to pre-teach or whether you think it's difficult enough to pre-teach. I would say, though, to probably stick with the words that are categorized because the vast majority of them will be. Also remember that the vocabulary profile may not identify phrases. Yeah, so you may want to go through it yourself and find some typical phrases. For example, instead of just teaching the word agreement, you might teach the phrase to reach an agreement. Okay, the vocabulary profiler won't highlight the phrase to teach an agreement or to reach an agreement, but you can choose it yourself because phrases are really, really useful for students of all levels. All right. So thank you, Nasi. Thank you for your question. Okay. So hello, Caitlin. Can we have a webinar for assignment B? Yeah. So as I said a few minutes ago, it will be next week. Okay. So next week is the assignment B webinar. Okay. Martha, my assignment for upper intermediate, I feel like it's different. Possibly, Martha, depending on when you enrolled. If you initially enrolled, a few years ago, it's quite possible that it is different. and you have to do whatever the one is that you enrolled for. Okay. This assignment has been on the go now, I think, for 2 years. So the vast majority of students are doing the 3 text assignment, but yeah, it may be possible that you're doing something different. But if you're struggling with that, please send a ticket to tutor support and we will be more than happy to help. Okay, Stuart, in my assignment, text 3 is text 1. Okay. So yeah, the templates are exactly the same, Stuart. It's just that the order has changed a little over time. But that's nothing to worry about. Just follow the templates. The templates are exactly the same. All right, just that the texts are renumbered slightly. Okay, very good. Okay, so yeah, Martha, send a ticket to tutor support and we will figure it out for you. Okay, so hello, Maridi, is it 100 words per task? Well, all of the word counts will be broken down on the templates. Okay, it's 100 words for some stuff, but not for others. So, Maridi, follow the templates, and that will give you the word count for each individual bit. Okay. All right. Okay, Stuart, have I done it the wrong way around? No, Stuart, I have not. But as I said, it does sound like you're doing a slightly older version of the assignment where the templates are exactly the same, the tasks are exactly the same, just the numbering has been changed. Okay, very good. Okay, let's see. Okay, Deepa, hello again. What if we don't fare well in assignment and don't get good scores or say fail them? Oh gosh, well, hopefully that won't happen. But if it does, not to worry. You have 3 chances to submit your work and to pass the assignment. All right, so if you submit the first time and the marker deems that it is not pass ready yet, he or she will give you a ton of feedback for you to then go back and make the changes necessary to your work to resubmit it a second time and hopefully pass. If you still don't pass on the secondary submission, your tutor will give you even more feedback, okay, so that you can make changes and go back and then resubmit it a third time. Okay, so it's really unusual that people would fail because, you know, you do have multiple opportunities to go back, correct, and resubmit. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about that. As well as that, if you have any problems at all, you can always contact tutor support and we will offer additional help with your assignments. Okay, but good question. Thank you. Okay, so hello, Maridi. What form of referencing should we use, Harvard or APA? Really, Maridi, it doesn't matter as long as you're consistent with it. You know, we tend to use Harvard, yeah, and in the referencing document that you will find, you know, that uses Harvard as examples. But look, if you really want to use APA, that's okay too, as long as you use the same style consistently. That's the important thing. All right. So Nasi, is it okay to use YouTube as reference? Possibly. Yeah. You know, if you have genuinely used it for information, sure, absolutely. There is no reason why you couldn't. Other typical things that you might use as references could be dictionaries, because chances are you will need to consult a dictionary for text for the vocabulary pre-teaching table. Okay, and you will be using a vocab profiler, so you can also reference that. You can reference the course, the online course modules. Okay, you can reference any pictures, any images you find. So, you know, there are a lot of different sources that you can reference throughout the assignment. It should not be difficult. to meet the referencing requirements. All right, so hello, Anna. Are there font or size requirements to keep to? No, we don't really mind. Most students just tend to do it in the font that is already on the templates, like their computer tends to identify that as the default font. But no, there are no such requirements. As long as it's not too tiny or not too massive and it's clearly legible, we're happy. Don't use Comic Sans, for example, or don't use any of the more elaborate fonts, okay? You can use Calibri, you could use Arial, you could use Times New Roman, whatever, as long as it's easy to read. Okay. So let's see, Thierry for text 3, I think about sending another document with materials. Yeah, perfect. That's nicely labeled. Absolutely, that should not be a problem. All right, Stuart, yes, we've said this a few times now. It may be possible that you're doing a slightly older version. Okay, but if you're having any issues with it, please send a ticket to tutor support. Okay. So, hello, Michael. Where is the info for stage 5? So the follow-on speaking tasks. Well, we've talked about them already earlier in the webinar. Also, when you get to Unit 5 of the online module, you will find a lot more information about how to structure a successful follow-on speaking task. Okay, so yeah, earlier on in the webinar, you can go back and rewatch it when it goes on YouTube or in Unit 5 of the online course. Okay, so hello Tallulah Flip Flop. What a fun name. How long does it take to get the assignment marked, please? So our limit, Tallulah, is 5 working days. Okay, so if, for example, you submit on a Monday, your working days would go as follows. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The weekend doesn't count. Monday. Okay, so if you submit on a Monday, the latest you will have it back is Tuesday the following week. Okay, I've got to say though, our tutors normally turn them around faster. Okay, so you may have it back after 2 days. You may have it back after 3, but the limit will be 5 working days. Okay, so yeah, that's really important to factor into your time management. Okay. So yeah, if you have to resubmit, the resubmissions will be marked within 2 to 3 working days. Okay, so the resubs are turned around a bit quicker, just because we know that usually involves a bit of time pressure on your part. But yeah, 5 working days for initial submissions and 2 to 3 working days for resubs. All right, thank you, Tallulah. So, hello Netapi, how are you accommodating for spelling differences between UK, Canada and USA? Netapi, we don't mind. We have no preferences as long as you are consistent. Okay, so if you're from the US, for example, use your regular US spelling. That's not an issue. If you're from Canada, use the spelling you would use in Canada. And the UK and Ireland and Australia, similar. Okay, it's not an issue. You do not have to change your spelling style at all. All right. Okay, Sasha Lee, when is the assignment due? Well, there is no specific due date, Sasha Lee. The only requirement is that you do all of the assignments and you complete the course within your 6-month enrollment period. Okay, how you divide up the time is up to you. That said, if your 6 months does expire and you still haven't finished, you can get an extension, yeah, for as long as you need to finish. Okay, but there is no due date as such. Okay, it's just a matter of trying to get it all done within your 6 months, or then also arrange an extension. Okay, thank you, Sasha. So Gemma, hello. I believe I answered this question already. They will all be group classes and in person, face to face. Okay, they will be the contexts for all of the texts in assignment A. So hello, Brigitta. Is there a time limit on submitting the assignment when you get access to it? Nope, absolutely not, Brigitta. It's up to you how quickly you can get through it. Okay, you are in charge of your time management. Okay, thank you. So, hello, Saju. I'm an overthinker. Oh, I hear you. Me too. I think all teachers are. Do you have to select every word identified as being over the student's level, even if two of them seem quite similar? It's ridiculous, but this is blocking me from moving forward. So every word, Saju? No. Remember, you only have 10 words to pick. Okay. So I would say if you're really in doubt, just pick the words that are really important for students to know in order to understand the text. Like if there's a word that you think they may not know, but that word is not super common or super important for overall understanding, then you could probably leave that word aside. We really just want to see what you think is best. Okay, so just try not to dwell too long. I know it's hard, but use your instinct. Go with what you think is most important for understanding. Okay, that would be my advice there. Okay. So hello, Abigail. When is the assignment due? I think, Abigail, I just answered this one. There is no due date. Yeah, as long as you get everything, all of the course and all of the assignments completed within 6 months. Okay. Okay. So, hello, Nasisa. Are we allowed to use activities from the net? Typically, Nasisa, you shouldn't need to. Yeah. Because, you'll be making up your own tasks for text 2 and text 3. So, you may take some inspiration from tasks from the net, or you may take images from the net, but the tasks you are making will be your own. Okay, you have to create them yourself. Okay. India, is there a time limit? No, no, there isn't. Just as long as you get everything done within the 6 months, it's all good. There is no specific time limit per assignment. Okay. So hello, Dandra. My text does not correspond to the webinar. I only have one text. Okay. So then you are probably, you probably enrolled a few years ago. Yeah. In which case, you may be doing an older version of an assignment, but that's no problem. Send a ticket to tutor support and we will be able to help you with whatever version was going when you enrolled. All right. Okay, hello, Mike Foxtrot. In Unit 1, you mentioned there are many types of classroom activities, such as reading aloud. However, in Unit 5, you mentioned that it is not a good idea for students to read aloud. Yeah, absolutely. So as we said, Mike, in Unit 5, like for the follow-on stage, we want students to develop fluency. Okay, we want them to speak. We want them to have natural conversation. Reading aloud is the absolute opposite of natural conversation. Okay, so you can get students to read aloud in class, like at different times, sure, but not as a speaking fluency follow-on task. All right, so hopefully that helps. All right, thank you, Mike. Okay, so hello, Lennon. from Zimbabwe. Since we have a number of templates, I assume they will be different pages. Do we have to merge all the documents into one? Nope. Or can we submit them separately? Yes, you can, Lennon. So when you're submitting your assignment A, you will be submitting text 1 as one file, text 2 as another, text 3 as another, and bibliography as another. So you should be submitting 4 files, okay? And maybe a 5th if you have some extra material you want to send. But no, you submit them separately in separate documents, okay? So yeah, thank you. Good question. All right, and we have time for one more question. Well, actually we don't. Our hour has finished, but we'll do one more question. So hello, Sophie. I know we write out in direct speech the teacher's questions, but what about the hypothetical answers from the students? Yeah, absolutely, Sophie. You can give what you would expect the answer to be from the students. Yeah, everything in direct speech. All right. Good. So everyone, our hour has passed. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately we do not. So thank you all so much for coming along to the webinar. If some of you are doing different versions of the assignment to what I went through today, or if everything is in slightly different order, or if everything is completely different, don't worry, okay? It's not an issue. People who enrolled at different times might be doing slightly different things. So just send a ticket to tutor support and we will be more than happy to give you all of the information and help you need for whatever version of the assignment you are doing. All right, and all of the questions I didn't get to, please send tickets to tutor support, okay? And then they will be able to help you. All right, so just a final reminder then that all of the webinars from the past couple of years at this stage are all on our YouTube channel. So please go along and check out our webinars, and you can rewatch this one as soon as it is posted in a couple of days. All right. Just before I go, I would like you to please take a moment to complete our end of webinar survey. All of your feedback is really important so that we can tailor our sessions to exactly what you need. Okay, so please just take a moment and give us your thoughts on this. So that's it, guys. Thank you all so much for coming along. I'm sure I will see you all again on tutor support at some stage. And yeah, next week there will be a similar session for assignment B level 5. Okay, everyone, have a great rest of weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.